Hey my friends, my name is Misty Sims, and if you found me, then you found my little corner of the internet that I like to call Beyond Reasonable Doubt, where we discuss all things true crime, culty, and a little bit creepy. If you're new here, I am so glad that you clicked that link and decided to hang out with me, and I do hope you will click that subscribe button and notification bell so we can hang out and discuss more true crime all the time. And if you're a returning subscriber, you already know that I love you more than cupcakes with sprinkles. We're on day 7,325 here in Tennessee of the frozen tundra experience. It is finally melting, but we've been stuck at home for a minute. But it actually gave me a chance to get smart on a case that has recently been becoming widespread on TikTok and YouTube. And after I go over this with you, it is going to leave you wondering why this hasn't been splattered all over the mainstream news. Now, Jackson, Mississippi is known not only for being the state capital, but it's the city with soul. It has so many ties to a huge array of musical genres like jazz, blues, rock, and it's located about halfway in between Memphis, Tennessee, and New Orleans, Louisiana. But Jackson has recently started gaining national attention for what seems to be a years-old issue with handling or the mishandling of what they claim to be unidentified deaths. The gruesome discovery of 215 bodies buried in unmarked graves behind a jail outside of Jackson, Mississippi has left the community shook. Families are angry, the coroner's office is pointing fingers at the police are pointing fingers back at them. But how are 215 bodies unaccounted for behind this correctional facility? I mean, surely these are 100 years old, right? Like, no one in recent years would behave that way. Well, what if I told you all 215 could be traced back from the year 2016 to 2023? The Hinds County Coroner's Office is required by Mississippi law to make reasonable efforts to contact the family of a person who has died. So how is it in modern times, modern days, with so many technologies at our fingertips, this many people were unidentified? Is it truly that they had no family or friends to claim them? Or is it that the efforts were just that lax at best and the family never had any idea? Today, we are going to be discussing the recent discovery of the bodies behind a Jackson, Mississippi jail, and you're going to find yourself angry by the end of this. So friends, let's dive in. Under Mississippi law, the coroner is required to make reasonable efforts to notify families of a person or persons who has passed away. If the person remains unclaimed after 5 days, they are allowed to seek what's called a pauper's burial, basically meaning a burial paid for by public expense, which apparently originated in Europe under poor laws way back. And oftentimes, I'm sure there are people who sadly don't have anybody remaining, and the state would have to lay them to rest. However, that's not the situation that's being described in Jackson. The Hinds County Pauper Cemetery has a 14-page log with 672 handwritten names in it. It talks about the person's age, race, gender, their birth and death dates, and where they were before they were buried and died. The log dates back to at least 2008. They've noted 215 being buried since 2016, and those bodies are located behind the jail. And I don't even want to think about where roughly 450 are. And I didn't find any articles written to date on investigating that delta, but that sounds like a mess. But what led to this discovery? Well, all this began to unravel when Miss Betterstein Wade Robinson of Jackson learned that her son Dexter Wade had been buried there for months and she was never told. This coming after she reported him missing back in March. See, Dexter was struck and killed by an off-duty Jackson police officer in their car last March, in line with when his mama reported him missing. A coroner's office investigator said he tried calling Wade's mother after the collision and then shared her info with the police, and they didn't notify her until August. Now, the Jackson mayor has since blamed this on communication failures, but Dexter's mother has said in an interview she has yet to still receive a formal apology from the mayor or the Jackson Police Department. And by formal, I mean no one has reached out to her personally from those offices. Now, of important note, Dexter was carrying his ID with his home address and his insurance card when he was struck by the vehicle, making identification very possible and contact with his family very plausible. And Miss Betterstein's attorney, Benjamin Crump, who specializes in civil rights and catastrophic personal injury cases, like wrongful death, also spoke openly in an interview that she is actually the plaintiff in a case against the Jackson Police Department involving the death of her brother. She's been through trials and press conferences, and even that furthers the argument that they know who she is, and they know where she lived, and they knew how to contact her of Dexter's passing. And if you think you've heard of Mr. Crump's name before, you absolutely have. He and his practice have focused on several high-profile cases, like Trayvon Martin, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Tyree Nichols, the folks affected by the Flint water crisis, and even plaintiffs in the 2019 Johnson & Johnson baby powder thing, where the baby powder could lead to ovarian cancer. So, big name there. Well, the discovery of Dexter, of course, causes a stir in the community, and it led other mothers to say, where are my sons? And two of them found out that they were buried right behind that prison. Mario Moore was found bludgeoned to death on February 2nd, according to a coroner's investigator, who said she tried to call his brother and the number had been disconnected. Well, his family didn't know anything until October, when a local news affiliate published an article that listed his name as a homicide victim, which is 100% not how a family should find out they lost a loved one. Moore's sisters, they sought an explanation from the coroner's office investigator, who told them that the police should have contacted him. The investigator told the sisters that Moore had been buried in a massive grave and in an undisclosed location, according to a recording of their conversation provided by the family. The family says the investigator did not apologize in any way for the way that they had to find out. And we also have Jonathan David Hankins, who was found dead in a Jackson hotel room in May of 2022. But neither the coroner's office nor the police told his mother, who also had reported him missing. A coroner's office investigator said he gave Hankins information to the police for notification, and the police just said they never got it. NBC News notified Hankins' mother in December 2023 after finding his name on a list of missing people and on a list of people buried in the Paupers Field. So again, just a completely horrible way to find out that your son is gone. And Hankins' mother also said she has yet to receive an apology from the coroner's office. So Mr. Crump is asking for a formal investigation from the federal level into why these deaths weren't handled properly or investigated properly, and why the families weren't appropriately notified. So this call is still in the very early stages, and I'm going to continue to follow this as this mess unfolds, because I seriously doubt that these are the only 3 families that were affected in this tragedy. Like, horrible. So what do I think? So I've seen it written online a lot, or echoed in some newspaper articles, and I completely agree that I do not understand why this is not on mainstream media, like at a national news level. Why are we hearing about this on TikTok and YouTube? Like, my mind is blown. I don't care if the other 212 had 0 family or loved ones, and Herculean efforts were made to try to claim them. This was just, these 3 should have had coverage. They matter. Their families matter. They were not treated humanely. Sources have even alleged that there's horrific smells coming from the graves that attracts buzzards, which, tells me they're not being handled in a respectful way, and that's sad and it's infuriating. And especially in the case of Dexter, the police department and the system knew his mom. And my guess would be probably him, because I'm sure he was supporting his mom through all those court cases. I don't want to make it worse, and I'm not trying to make any kind of wild accusations or speculations, but I will say that I am very glad that Mr. Crump has asked for a federal investigation, because I feel like there is a lot to be uncovered here. There's a lot of questions that these folks need to answer. And it also sounds like, based on things I've read, like more policies and procedures and whatnot have been put in place now to circumvent this type of event from reoccurring, which, great, but that doesn't fix the current situation. And I pray these families get some answers and understanding as the bodies are being exhumed and hopefully sent home with their loved ones to be laid to rest properly with the love of their family and friends who were looking for them. So, what do y'all think? Like, had y'all heard about this? It's making its rounds, and I certainly hope we keep their names out there. Some sort of peace needs to be given to these families, and just a nice, cordial apology would be great. I'm so mad. But that is it for me today, guys. Please keep these families in your thoughts and prayers and good vibes. And you guys stay safe out there and stay sweet, my cupcakes. You know I love you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.